Mancini per Nedved, Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, Alex, Del Piero! Sulla palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium! Here we go.
Hello and welcome to episode 284 of the Turin Giants podcast. Ciao tifosi bianconeri. I am Kevin, your host for this latest episode. Farhad is on a triple shift at the hospital saving babies and old people. So thank you for your service. I am joined here by Zach. Zach, dare I ask how you're doing?
I can't really put it into words. I'm bummed. I'm pretty bummed.
There'll be plenty of opportunity to talk through that. And we are delighted, albeit not under the ideal circumstances, because this was supposed to be different. We are joined for the third time by former Turin native, an Italian, our dear friend Luigi, who joining us from Luxembourg, who went to the match against PSV, made the trip to Holland, and we were supposed to be here discussing a celebration and advancement to the round of 16. Luigi, how are you?
I'm okay. I mean, as you can see, as last time when I went to Lille, I'm a bit tired. My voice is a bit gone. So sang a lot yesterday night, and I came back at 4:00 this time. So very intense experience yesterday. So long experience. We lost. So as you can imagine, I didn't come back home cheering and happy. So. But it's okay. There's lots to say about that game yesterday. Really
how long was the drive home for you?
3 hours actually. So now it was okay because we had no traffic when we came out, because we came out of the stadium quite late. That was the main reason why I arrived at 4:00 basically, and also to get out of that parking lot where Juventus sent us was not that easy, but it was okay at the end. So it was way better organized than Lille, I have to say, way better. So this time I didn't have to wait 4 hours to get my ticket. I got it like in 5 seconds. I have the feeling that Juve understood the message after Lille. So this time it was very well organized. So I really have to say that
3-hour drive must have just been miserable going home. I struggled just Kevin, in my own evening, but.
Yeah, but it was okay because I was not alone. I had to drive 2 friends of mine to the Luxembourg airport. So they came by with a little bus from Italy, and they said they don't want to go back by car. So they had some organization. They had to bring back other people. So they decided to fly back. They asked me if I could drive them to the airport. So I was not alone for the return drive. So it was okay. We spoke a lot. So at one point they fell asleep. I was speaking to myself. I didn't realize that they were sleeping. They were really tired. Yeah, no, they were really tired. They left, and I told them, guys, come on, you left Italy at 1:00 in the morning. So if you want to sleep, just sleep. No, Luigi, want to speak to you. And then at one point, I lost them. So it was okay.
Well, before we get into your experience in the match, just a quick few business things, of course. Thank you for listening, whether this is your 100th time listening to us or the first time. We're thrilled to have you. You have your choice of content for anything related to Juve, and we're glad to kind of share some of that with you. You can follow us on Instagram at Turin Giants, on X/Twitter at Juve Podcast, and you can check out our website at turingiants.com. This is actually being recorded with video, so you can see this on Spotify with video, also on YouTube. as well as Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And we'd appreciate a 5-star rating. It would mean the best, or mean the world to us. Was not a 5-star Juve performance, which we're about to dive into, but we appreciate that acknowledgement for us. So, guys, I think for this particular match, I want to kind of approach it a little bit differently, not just kind of diving into assessment of perhaps starting 11, our overall takeaway from the match. I definitely want to start, Luigi, just with your perspective. What was it like being at the game? Obviously, I would hope the lead up to the match was fun, right? You sent me a picture of you with our dear friend G Just Juve with Uncle Pepe, and being
good.
with a bunch of other Juventini. So I'm sure that was really nice, and we'd love to hear that. But then when we look at the game, I want to break the dialogue into 2 sections. One, I want to talk about just the players on the pitch and how they approached the second half in particular. I think we can all agree the first half was pretty well managed. We had some chances. We seemed in control. And like many games this year, the second half was flat for a number of reasons. I think flat is putting it kindly. So I want to talk about the players without talking too much about Motta and decisions made. Let's talk about the players. And then second, I want to transition to Motta and decisions that were made. Substitutions, tactical choices, motivation, post-game commentary around these decisions. And then we have a lot of feedback and comments from some of our followers on Instagram, and we'll try and weave in some of those perspectives as well as we continue. So guys, how does that sound? Are we ready to dive into this pain?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. And Zach, of course, if you have certain questions for Luigi about his experience, obviously feel free to cut in. But Luigi, Eindhoven, let's actually start with something easy. How is the city? I've never been there.
I mean, for the first time in Eindhoven, I mean, I've been lots of times in Holland, in the Netherlands, but Eindhoven was my first time. A nice, typical Dutch city, very nice, very clean, very. The town center was typical Dutch, you know. It was very easygoing atmosphere, generally speaking. I mean, the arrival, the parking spot was easy to find. Let's say Juventus gave us, you know, when you go to away games, Juventus sends you always this PDF where they explain you everything with Google Maps links and everything. So everything was very clear, very easy to find the parking spot. Everything was very close, so you could do everything by foot. Stadium, parking, everything by foot, like really close. The atmosphere was really easy. You could see a lot of police, a lot of police everywhere. They would stop you. Some of my friends, they just been stopped and they controlled their ID because they were Italians. I got through it without control, so I guess I didn't look so bad, so aggressive. And then the town center, we were all there. You were full of Juventini sitting on terraces of bars and having a couple of drinks and discussing. It was really calm. And then at 6:30, they made us move to the stadium altogether. So we were walking slowly, like walking 2 minutes, stopping, stop the traffic, walking 2 minutes, stopping. So people were watching from the windows and everything. We were singing, and that's when I met Pepe, and very good to see him. I'm happy to see him now because I can see that he's happy to see me too. So we speak a lot about our lives and our jobs and everything. So. And he says hello, Kevin, to you, of course.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we spoke also about you.
Ciao, Beppe, if you're listening by chance. It was nice to see your face next to Luigi yesterday.
Yeah, and I told him I would be on the podcast today, so he was happy. And no, it's good to see. And the fact that I now I start to go much more to away games of Juve. I see a lot of friends, and I can see that I actually know a lot more people than what I thought I would. So it's good. It was a good atmosphere. It was a bit there was a bit hate between singing from Juve fans to the Eindhoven and PSV fans, of course. I mean, this is something that you have normally. But the police was smiling and laughing at us when we were saying bad things about Eindhoven. So it was very easy-going atmosphere.
Can you share some of those? I mean, share the English translation, not the Italian.
It was Eindhoven Wafankula. I mean, it was not the poetry. Yeah, so of course. So no, but it was good. Let's say. Then also the entrance at the stadium was slow, so only 2 or 3 people at the time. But because we arrived all together, it took 45 minutes to get in. If we were quite behind. But everything was fun. Stadium is really nice. But we were really packed. So let's say if you wanted to go to the toilet or something like that, it was difficult because it was difficult to go down because it was so packed. We were very much together. So otherwise, this was the only, say, bad thing. It's like if you want to go and grab a beer or go to the toilet, I didn't go, for example. So I stayed there because I couldn't be bothered to walk through all these people. Some of my friends they went away for 20 minutes. So it was too packed, very small. It was not. That was the only. Yeah, and also there were like some huge net and a lot of post metal things that some parts of the field you couldn't see well. Protection, okay, you get that everywhere in Europe, so it's but yeah, otherwise, generally speaking, I mean, if I have to speak about the atmosphere, and this is something I want to say also because this was a game changer, I think, yesterday when we will speak about the game. The atmosphere was amazing. I have to say, I've seen 60, 70 stadiums in Europe in my life. This one, okay. Not
from
bad at all.
The atmosphere from what the Juve supporters brought, or
Juve supporters were okay.
PSV?
No, we no PSV. I'm speaking about we as Juve supporters. I take back what I said during the Lille podcast. It's that there were a lot of Juventus fans from Belgium, France, all that area, children of immigrants. You could hear speaking a lot of French, but this time there were more from Italy. I could see a difference with Lille. In Lille, I could hear speak only French. Here, mainly Italian. So you had like half, let's say. So this time when they were singing the songs that were a bit longer from the Curva in Torino, half of the guys knew them, so there was more atmosphere. So all the easy songs, let's say the Juve easy songs, they were sang by everybody. The more long songs that we only sing in Turin, that the guys that don't come often to the stadium can't know, they were sang only from the bottom part, so the Italian part, half. So the atmosphere was better than in Lille, on the Juve point of view. But as of second half, when the PSV supporters started to cheer up, I can tell you it was absolutely crazy. I've seen a lot of things.
It looked it from the television that if you were a PSV supporter in that second half, in overtime as well, you were having fun.
Yeah, they were, and
they had reason. They had reason to.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And this is for me what made the difference at a certain point of the game to give that push more. Because I have the feeling that Juve could have won the game yesterday. They could have won. It was really half-half. We will go into details about the players, of course, but like generally speaking, I could feel that anybody could have won that game. But what really made the difference was for me, that was pushing the stadium was really pushing their team. If I'm not wrong, they're not losing since 2022 at home or something like that, or they lose really. So it's a really strong team at home to play, and understand why. I mean, when they start, they don't stop, and it's not only like behind the goal; it's the whole stadium singing. So it's quite crazy, I have to say. You don't have that everywhere, where all the stadiums sing, and that was quite impressive. And then with the lights, everything was red, and they have a lot of very long songs in Dutch, and there's a lot of techno. I have to say, a lot of techno. They love techno in Holland.
Wouldn't be the Netherlands without some electronic music.
A lot of electronic music. Yeah. But it was really an impressive experience, I have to say. So,
Zach, any questions for Luigi?
No, I just like soaking it in. Having not been to an away shoot, I haven't been to Allianz either. I just sort of like to romanticize about what the experience is like, and hearing about it through Luigi's eyes is just really fun for me. So, I definitely want to go on tour, so to speak, of the various stadiums, starting with Allianz, and I just like hearing about the cool experiences.
Yeah, it is. Zach, there's a lot of different experiences in Europe. Every stadium is different, and every country is different. You will see a big difference already if you change country. In Europe, it's not the same experience if you go to Spain, in France, in Italy, in Germany, or in England. It's totally different atmosphere, and the Dutch stadiums are quite warm, hot. State like Feyenoord also has this experience. PSV is one of them. Ajax is also quite crazy, and I can only confirm it. So because what I saw yesterday was
crazy. Would somebody have sounded if they had made predictions that there'd be 2 Dutch teams knocking out 2 Italian teams?
Juventus and Milan knocked out by Feyenoord and
PSV knocking out Milan and Juve.
Okay. We spoke about it yesterday at the end of the game with the Italian supporters when we were waiting to get out of the stadium. There were a lot of speaking, and people were saying, "Yeah, come on, Milan and Juventus thrown out by Feyenoord and PSV. This is something that could have happened in the 80s or 70s, but not now." So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, no discredit to those teams. I think, PSV thoroughly deserved it yesterday, and I didn't catch much of the Feyenoord match, and I know Theo Hernandez didn't help that situation for Milan, but no discredit to those teams, but it has to be embarrassing in a black eye to Italian football. And Atalanta, Club Brugge, we played them. We know that they were not they weren't pushovers, that for sure. And they made it to the knockout round for the right reasons. And they had some nice results in the league play. But these were games that Atalanta, Milan, and Juve should have advanced from.
Yeah, I think that's a reflection of, unfortunately, the stature of where Juventus is right now in European football. We talked about it in last episode, as I'm sick and tired of getting knocked out against teams that on paper we should beat, or from leagues that are not to Serie A's level. But
if we look at those last seasons,
PSV,
sorry to cut you off. PSV,
well, yeah.
I think it was Sevilla, Villarreal, Porto, Lyon, Ajax.
And I think other than Sevilla, playing them, that was Europa semi-finals, I believe, with their sort of Europa League plot armor that they have. Them aside, those are games that you would expect Juventus to win, or ties to proceed. And it's just, we have to be honest with ourselves that this is where our team is now. It's up to us in the future to dispel this notion that we're just a mediocre European team, when it comes to the Champions League, because nothing on the pitch has showed us in those results that we're anything more.
So that's whether it was intended or not, I think that's a great transition to move into the match discussion. And again, I'd like to stay focused on what we saw on the field from the players, and let's try and keep multi comments and judgments on hold for now. I think, I forget which of my 3 or 4 Juve WhatsApp chats yesterday. I think the comment that I made in one of them was just like, we were outplayed, out hustled, out muscled, out hearted. I don't think that's really a word, but just like the lack of passion that was there. And it was, the second half was flat, slow, not proactive, didn't have the energy, didn't see the grinta that we saw against Inter. But I think maybe we start with something a little bit positive before we get deep. Zach, if you were to pick a couple players who showed yesterday that they're deserving of this shirt, and that they deserve to wear the black and white kit. Did anybody merit that yesterday?
The two players I would highlight, first is Timmy Weah. Was very proactive in both phases of play. He scored a beautiful goal, was, I think, our second highest passer on the whole team, second or third, which is crazy from a guy coming as a fullback. I think he put it all out there and played well throughout. I think the second might be a little bit more controversial is Di Gregorio. It's not every day you pick a goalkeeper who let in 3 goals as a top performer, but as a game progressed, that it could have easily been 10. He stood up some really good saves throughout that match, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, but the defense and the midfield were just letting things through on him. So he really had to do it himself, and I think against those odds, he did a pretty good job keeping the bleeding from getting untenable.
Luigi, anybody else? I mean, I think, as you know, the television perspective and the stadium perspective can be different, and you pick up on different things. Did something stand out? I mean, this is a hard match to find any positives, but did any player stand out for you?
It's not because we lost that you can. I still believe, and I had a lot of fights with, let's say fights, or via WhatsApp with some Italian friends today, long discussions, because I was rather positive. I from the stadium I saw the team fighting, which is good. The others were just playing better, but at least they were. I like when the team fights, and I had the feeling that they were really in a difficult situation yesterday against a team with the stadium and everything. It was not easy, and for me, what was the key moment yesterday was the injury of Vega, and that unfortunately that's difficult. That's we lost the best.
Isn't it crazy
defender.
we're saying that? Like we're in February,
that's just
and
where we're at.
center back signed on a dry loan in his fifth game maybe.
Yeah. It's crazy,
that's
but
a
it is
decisive. I agree with you. I mean, that was, I think, one of the first comments we have from on Instagram here from Juve Za. I think so. Vega's injury was decisive, and it was. He was a monster against Inter.
Yeah, and the fact that they were looking for. I mean, the first big part of the season was when you lost Bremer, best defender in the world right now. When you lose somebody like him, it is difficult. So they looked for somebody, and they found this Vega coming from nowhere. Let's say I was not expecting him, and he started to play very well. And of course, so we needed him, and I was happy to have him next to Gatti because both together it's good. And then he got injured, and I said, oh, because then I saw Kelly going in the center back already. For him, very difficult. I saw things moving after the Vega injury, and then that was difficult yesterday to have, to test these new positions for all these new players coming in and against this team yesterday. But for me, Gatti, if you want the name that I liked a lot yesterday, is Gatti. Gatti was a monster again yesterday. He's somebody very strong in defense, taking a lot of balls, running everywhere. Was on top, trying to score goals. I mean, he and of course the other American, McKennie. I loved him yesterday. These are if you want 2 more names, that's Gatti and McKennie for me.
And
on top of the ones that you said. Yeah.
I mean, Colomwani had he tried, he ran, he had a couple chances, but not one of his better games. I think it was our friend Frederic, who's not able to be with us, who called Nico Gonzalez a big sack of potatoes. He did not have one of his better matches. Conceição had his, I don't know, I think he had some bright spots in the first half. He kind of faded a bit.
Yes.
I will say that and we've sung his praises, and Luigi, you have on your 2 previous opportunities on the podcast, praising his technical ability, the energy, the speed, the flair he brings. I was very frustrated with him yesterday.
Yes.
And also in Inter leading up to, I mean, yes, he scored the goal, which is great. He puts his head down too much. He doesn't know when to let the ball go. and I'm getting irritated with his diving.
Yes,
and he's going down too easily and looking up as if he's been shot in the leg, and this is going to work against him. You don't want him having like a Neymar reputation.
This is something,
Theo
for example,
Hernandez.
I didn't see.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, Theo Hernandez was. I saw it live. I was in the bar in Luxembourg. I saw it live. That one was exaggerated. Don't compare things, that was wow. I've never seen something like that. Maybe Mertens in Fiorentina Napoli one day did that, but and he got the penalty even if he had VAR. But it was a VAR. And no, but to be honest, I didn't see. I saw him diving, but from the stadium, you don't see by how much he dove. So yeah, you confirmed that yesterday he exaggerated again.
Yeah. I mean, he was fouled reasonably on a few instances, but he
exaggerates.
He's making a meal out of a lot of it, and it's going to work against him if he doesn't get a little bit more discipline.
I'd like to highlight some of these players, though. I mean, you kind of listed a few, but I want to dive deeper into some of these. First and foremost, if I was to point out the two big flaws of that second half, and ignoring the Mota aspect, I'd say Nico Gonzalez was a huge problem. Now, I like Nico Gonzalez. I've said oftentimes I like his effort. I like his technical ability. I think he really brings a lot to our team. But yesterday, he had an absolute stinker. He had the most touches on our entire team, yet only had 58% passing accuracy. The guy was making great runs. He was showing for the ball accurately, but he just did not have his touch. 25 of 43 passing, killed so many positive opportunities. And in line with that, behind him was a Locatelli Coupe pivot that had a combined 34 completed passes.
Didn't Coupe finish the game with like 30 touches?
He got subbed in the 77th, but he had 16
completed his game.
Yeah.
with
the Locatelli and Coupe Miners were sloppy in possession, which really exposed our defense. They were not effective in defense. They did not sync well together. McKennie, who is not known for being an exceptional passer, had more passes completed than both of them combined.
He played well. I repeat, Zach, he played well yesterday for me from the stadium.
No, I'm not. This is not a knock on McKennie. He is not as good of a passer as Coupe Miners and Locatelli from an objective standpoint. Yet yesterday he completed more passes than both of them combined, Luigi. This is not an indictment of McKennie. It's an indictment of Coupe and Locatelli.
Yeah, of course. I understand. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and it just shows that we could not build up the play. Now, this game mirrored in a lot of ways Inter, where the Inter first half was back and forth. Obviously, a lot more chances created as the first half of PSV. But the change happened at halftime in Inter, where we cleaned up our act in midfield. We did not do that today. We had two midfielders who were performing very poorly, which prevented us from building up to the forwards. The Colomwani had about as many touches in his 90 minutes as Dusan had in his 30, because we could not build up in that while Colomwani was there. And then it took Thuram's sub to actually progress the ball through the midfield. It just was a really poor performance from those three players, neutering our ability to progress and putting our defense under an enormous amount of pressure, which is why, if I can transition briefly to Savona and Lloyd Kelly, who I think are receiving a lot of criticism from the fan base, I'm going to kind of soften that a little bit. It's very hard. It's very hard to step into the role that both of them did yesterday when your midfield gives you no coverage. Savona playing left back, Kelly shifting to center back for the first time at Juventus. You give him a slight cushion because of the new positions.
And he had a decent first half.
Kelly absolutely did.
He had a decent first half.
Statistically, he was equivalent to Gatti, from a clearances standpoint, from a defensive move standpoint, from a block standpoint, recovery standpoint, pretty much bang even with Gatti.
Yesterday I said to my friend next to me, I said to him, because I was on the left side on the Kelly was playing just below me on the first half, and I said to my friend next to him, okay, today is he's on a test. I will test him today. I will watch him. I will concentrate on Kelly. I will watch him for at least the 45 minutes, the first half, when he's just in front of me, and I will see how he runs, how he goes. And I liked him, to be honest. I really liked him. This 45 minutes, and the second half was on the other side. So with all these metal things, I could not see that very well. But and I wasn't so sure if the first goal of PSV was his fault. So I went to see it today, and very strange. He was not there. It was his side, and it was Nico Gonzalez that was there. So because Perisic was very alone on that goal, so I don't really know who is fault there. But I like Kelly.
Hold on 1 second. We're 30 minutes in, and I think it's the first time we've mentioned our dear friend Ivan Perisic, who
I wasn't gonna mention him.
Please, we are sick of you. Please kindly retire. Thank you very much.
Yes. You had a nice career. Thank you. Goodbye.
No, but I do not need to see his face ever again against Juve.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I think the point is that Lloyd Kelly and Savone, like Lloyd Kelly, I think did decent. I think he was put under an enormous amount of pressure, predominantly not because of the position switch, but predominantly because of the defense was or the midfield was so ineffective yesterday in front of him. Savona, was I think a solid stopgap on right back. But when we needed a player to step up, he showed his limitations and his youth. And I don't want to hate on him because he can't help that. But that just shows you where our team is and its squad building, that we had to use Cambiasso as a midfielder, Savona as a left back, Lloyd Kelly as a center back, in a game that was really important for us to win, or at least not lose.
And I think there's maybe some parallels with the Napoli match from a couple weeks ago, where we had a pretty decent first half. That halftime changes everything. Opposition does something at halftime and comes out with a fervor and a passion and a desire to take the game by the scruff of the neck and go for it. And that second half performance, again, was flat. And Luigi, you say you like to see the team fight. And I think we all do. And like that's a characteristic around that mental toughness, the whole fino alla fine phrase that embodies how we play. And it's shown up a couple times, but it's the inconsistency of this squad and the inability to learn from mistakes. And I these last couple games have shown progress, but I just feel this has been a couple steps forward and a huge leap back in a very pivotal game that prevents us from advancing in a competition, hurts the club financially, and probably does some psychological damage to a team that's going to be under a lot of criticism moving into these next few matches. Yeah. And I really struggle to just accept how this play continues like this in the second half. And am I, like, you guys tell me, am I overlooking the youth in an experience element of this and just like not respecting that enough? And like, this is normal. This is okay. We'll work through this in a couple years. But these are professionals making millions. They've been playing this game for at least like 20 years each, since they were probably 2 or 3 years old. They understand the pressure. I struggle to accept not playing with the passion, the desire, the intensity to go win a knockout Champions League match.
Your youth is absolutely youth and inexperience, both from the players and the coach, are a factor. They are not an excuse, though. They are not an excuse. So you can say, like, a lot of these guys haven't played at that stage before. Mota hasn't coached at that stage before. But it is not, in my opinion, a reason or excuse to accept Juventus not progressing against PSV in this Champions League, right? I think that we need to expect more. And we started earlier saying that the evidence shows you that Juventus is of this stature now. Okay, so maybe it's unfair for me to accept more because all we've done is throw up stinkers every year in the Champions League for the last 5 or so. So, yeah, but as for this team, Champions League aside, youth is a reason. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. You're going to make mistakes with youth. You're going to see late game comebacks because of youth, but that is not an excuse for us not to reach our sporting goals this year. If we don't finish top 4, we cannot look back at, especially because we're top 4 now. We can't say, oh, because of youth. There's no excuse now.
No,
there's no excuse now.
I don't know what the real Juve is. Is it the Juve that can beat Inter, can beat Milan, can have that comeback against Leipzig, can beat Manchester City, or is it the Juve that loses and gets outplayed by Benfica, by Stuttgart last night against PSV, that draws all these games? Or are we just an inconsistent side? Like I just what is our norm? And it's I was about to say that maybe, just maybe, with this inexperience, if we had been drawn against Real Madrid and they're going into the Bernabeu and they're lining up and these 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds are seeing Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, like these players in the Bernabeu surrounded by 90,000, 100,000 fans, maybe that youth and inexperience is a little bit inexcusable because that's formidable. But we did it against Manchester City at home. That's a formidable club with an incredible lineup. I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling a bit here. I think the frustration just comes down to inconsistency because I see what the team has been able to do. And then in moments where they need to give it their all and it's clear what's required, they're unable to come up with it.
I mean, we come, it's always difficult to come. There's also discussion I had yesterday in the stadium. It's always difficult to come after a derby game, like an Inter game or something. When you win that game, and I said, I hated to my friend next to me, I said, I hate the fact that we played Inter just before this game. And we won, and we were so happy, and they were just still struggling a lot, the Inter fans from Sunday. And it was difficult, So this is one of, it's not an excuse, but it's one of the points. You have this post-derby syndrome in Italy. We speak a lot about it. When Roma beats Lazio the day after, the weekend after they will lose. So it's not an excuse, but this is one thing. And then the other thing, you say, youth. We are. I had a long discussion this morning again because of that, because I see a lot of frustration everywhere on social media. My friends, WhatsApp, I had like 400 messages, because I didn't look at my phone until late this afternoon. So at one point I said one long thing, and I said, guys, we don't have to forget one thing. Last week, communication came out about the Juventus finance results, which are much better than expected. So this is very positive. When I read that, I'm happy because the Exor group, they clearly said, guys, this club, we are at the year 0. So we are starting something new this year. So we will not start winning this year. We will not. This is clear. This is a message that they told us at the beginning of the year. They will do mistakes by buying some players, so they will need to fine-tune the things. And I think they're doing very well. So the team is very young. We never had such a young team in Juventus. The financial status of the club is going very well. So we need to. There's one big problem still to solve, and I hope we will solve it this summer. It is somebody who is earning a lot of money in front, but so then the team, because they said it again, Exor, they will not they want to avoid another recapitalization. I don't know how you say it in English. When they put
Yeah,
they want to avoid that. I mean, because now they every year they were putting 200 million in this club since the 4 last year, so 900 million in total in 4 years. That's a lot of money from the pockets. So to avoid that our passion is going bankrupt, we have to see it as a company, not as a football club sometimes. So and I see what they're doing. I know they're doing mistakes. I know that this year this is the furthest we could do. We could do a match one round more. The next round we would have lost. It could have been Arsenal or Inter. We would not have gone through. So maybe it's better like that. It's horrible to say, but I don't want to go to the next round and play Inter, and they are so angry with us, and they will beat us both games. So
no, I mean,
you can say
terrible.
you could say like, hey, going to next round, that's extra games, or that's extra, potential
Money,
injuries
okay.
and stuff, extra money. I think all that, like, this is the Champions League, though. This is Juventus, and this is us playing PSV. Like,
I know.
Not to say that they're not a good team.
Not to say that they're in Holland. They're not so bad, and I said they
score a lot of goals.
Usually win at home. We've beaten them twice this year. We have beaten them twice this year, so it's not like we didn't beat them.
But we didn't beat it when it counted. Luigi.
I know, Zach.
I think what that is it's just sobering. It's just sobering about what this team is right now. It's
not more than that. We cannot go further.
But I think my question is this a team that should be better, though? We can talk about all the money that's been spent on players and players who have underperformed, and
yes.
we haven't even talked too much about Koop Miners too much. And it was just another miserable game. And there's a very important comment about his readiness for yesterday's match, which we'll get into shortly. But is this a team, like Zach, to your point, like we didn't win it when it matters?
Yes.
And should we be understanding of that we're not that team, and it's unfortunate, but yes, we're Juve. There's, like, according to Del Piero, there's no rebuilding seasons. You always start the season wanting to win every tournament you go into. Yes. There's always a reality behind the status of a squad, going through cycles. I get all of that. But is this a team that the talent, the technical ability, the way that the squad has been built, with the players that are out on the pitch, is this a team that should be performing better than it has in notable games like this, like Napoli, like Benfica, like Brugge, like these 1-1 draws? Is this something that it's frustrating as fans because we want to win? But if we're being level-minded and clear, is it actually okay based on the squad that we have? Or should we be expecting more?
But see, this game yesterday is different from all the other ones you said, because over the course of a 38-game season, there's going to be dips, valleys and troughs, or whatever they say, right? This was a singular knockout game. You tie or win, and you move on against a team you've beat twice. Okay, who played just a couple days prior, just like we did. This team, Juventus, was a team that has showed that they can beat their opposition, and because of the stakes, they should have done better than what we saw on the pitch. That is not that, and that is a slightly different answer to the one you asked, because you asked overall performance.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about overall performance, where we are squeaking into top 4 now, 4 games, wins in a row before yesterday in Serie A, and so forth, I would have a slightly different answer. But for this game, in this competition, it should have been better. I mean, look, it's the 63rd minute. We were progressing.
Yep.
Yeah,
we were progressing in the 63rd
after the
minute.
1-1. After the 1-1, I have to be honest, in the stadium, we had the feeling that it was okay. We would bring even bring 2-1 at home. That was the feeling that you had in the away atmosphere. But as I said, then something changed, and they started to really push a lot, and it was really difficult. And their very high pressing, and they were really attacking. It was incredible. And then when you put that with all this atmosphere and everything, it was very, very difficult game yesterday.
Can
I
we
think it would have been
transition
easier
then?
in Real Madrid. It would have been maybe easier to play Real Madrid than what we saw yesterday.
Well, it would be easier to
Possibly.
accept losing to Real Madrid. I tell you, like, because my answer would be like, there'd be no expectations that we would beat Real Madrid. Can we transition, because I think you touched on it, and I think it's directly related to, Kevin, your second topic.
Well,
let's talk Thiago Motta.
It is, and that's exactly where we're going now. I think I wanted to separate them because I think we deserve to talk about the players on the field.
Yes.
And should that result have been different, despite the decisions, the mentality of the coach, the comments afterwards, despite those things, should we have expected better? Are we let down by the players beyond just the coach? And like, we're going to get into the Motta stuff, because I'm looking at some of our Instagram comments right now. Did I just watch? Motta needs to go. Leave Motta in Netherlands. You played terrible. You score. You have 3 subs ready to go. You tell them all to sit down. You give up a goal. Just shocking coaching. Another comment: I've been a massive supporter of Motta this year, but I think he got it wrong today tactically with the starting line, not being aggressive enough. A little unlucky with an injury after 12 minutes, which I think we discussed. But guys, where do we start? Where do we start with the decisions? And
let's I want to start. I'd like to just start real quick, because the last game against Inter, I gave Motta man of the match. I felt like his change when he made it and how it affected the game relative to Inzaghi's was perfect. And I've also been, for those who regularly listen, largely a trust the process with Thiago Motta type of guy. Right. Yes. So relatively more forgiving. But yesterday was absolutely horrible from the coach, in my opinion. I think, you just asked, Kevin, should we expect more for some of these players? Loca played terrible. Coop played terrible. Nico Gonzalez had his worst game in maybe in any jersey ever yesterday. But Thiago Motta did not prepare his team well. And I'm going to start at the halftime. You could say that he shouldn't have started Coop because he was sick or whatever. But, we saw it the first half relatively well. Let's look at the second half, because you have a lot of information there. You have information about how our midfield is performing poorly. You have information about the fact that PSV is 45 minutes away from going home, right? How are you going to send out the team to put them in a position to see out the result? And every single punch that PSV threw, Motta was not ready to respond. The fact, and it's not uncommon for subs to be pulled down after we score a goal. That's not uncommon. That's not the problem. The problem is the issues he was going to address with those substitutions were still there. Nico Gonzalez coughing up the ball, which, by the way, he didn't sub out. He subbed out Conceição instead of Nico Gonzalez, who just was a ball losing machine. He doesn't bring on Thuram earlier, who we saw have an enormous impact on the game when we really needed midfield control, both in the defensive phase as well as progressing the ball up the field. You wait until the 90th minute to sub out Colomwani and Cambiasso to bring in Mbangula or Dusan. What impact are they going to have in 7 minutes of extra time? If it was just for the extra period, okay, fine. But if there is issues on the pitch, which there were in the 63rd minute when Weah scored that beautiful daisy cutter, you make that change then and there. He waited. His subs did not make sense, taking out Chico. And I agree, Kevin, he wasn't great, but he was not having the horror show that Nico was.
Yeah, between the two, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Your big problem is link up play, and I'm not going to belabor this, but you have no choice but to play Cambiasso as a midfielder because you shipped the Jolie, right? So you have Cambiasso, who's clearly not 100% fit, which is why he's subbed out after being subbed on. Okay, he didn't play terrible, but to play him as a midfielder because you didn't have anything else. And it just was not proactive coaching. It was reactive, play it safe coaching in a tie where we needed to be able to match their intensity to see it out. And he didn't do it with his decision-making, with his preparation at halftime, clearly, because the team came out flat, and with the subs. So I gave him a good grade against Inter. I gave him the worst grade against PSV.
Absolutely, Zach. I totally agree with what you say. Absolutely. I mean, you could see it yesterday. He was asking players to get warm, asking players to go on the pitch, asking them to get, and it happened a couple of times. So we were expecting them to get on, calling them like they were, I know, you go back and warm. It was like he was reacting. Absolutely. This is clear what I saw yesterday in the stadium. So, and I'm absolutely agree with you also about Mota, if I can finish.
No, please.
They Mota, I had a moment where I liked him, and I went down. I had was really angry with him for a couple of months, and then lately I was coming up again, and when I saw him cheering so much for Inter, the way he played, he subbed and everything, what he has done on the tactics and everything against Inter, he won that game. I was so happy. I said, God, Mota is getting gobbo good, so I liked it a lot. And yesterday was again boom.
You wait till the 70. Look, the issues with our team. The issues with our team were evident at halftime because it was just like the Inter game, our midfield disorganization, right? If he had gotten that fixed at halftime with whatever speech or a tactical adjustment like he did against Inter, then no problem. But those issues persisted in the 50th minute, 60th minute. We score the goal. Still, the problems persist. You wait till the 77th minute to make a triple change. Okay, and then in the extra time, because the changes he made, you then go into the extra 30 with a true 4-2-3-1 because you don't have any other midfielders. So you have Nico attacking a 4-2-4, really attacking a group of Nico, Yildiz, and Mangula and Dusan. Okay, it's just the imbalance, the preparation, the proactivity was just really lacking. I think also the squad depth or lack thereof was also extremely evident because I'm wondering to myself, who do you even bring on? I mean, there's nobody. There's nobody.
No, man, the only one that you could bring on that would have been a game changer, could have been a game changer is Yildiz for me. That's the only one really have a good fit. So he brought him on. And,
I mean, you brought him on the 7. Look, Yildiz
too late
and Thuram were the two that I was kind of looking at for right off the bat. So, it'd be Thuram, maybe say, hey, Loka, just be a defender for effectively, help out the defense. Thuram, go on for Koopmeiners, who's been ineffective. Play a 4-3-3, get Nico off, put Yildiz or Mbangula on. And I think in the 60th minute, even before the goal, because it was so clear that we were just suffering in the midfield. And yeah, he I'm not going to say Mota out or anything because of this game, but he got it all wrong against PSV. Wrong.
The two things that were like takeaways for me, and I've struggled to try and like put it into the right words, and I think I have the first part, is that he seemed like a guy who didn't know how to do his job. And I know we don't always know all of the details, right? What was going on in training, what's going on with certain players, what's happening on the touchline. Like there's details that we're never going to get. So maybe there's things that we can't know, but there are things that are so obvious that need to be done. And you just look at you're 45 minutes away from qualification, how you fire up your team, how you get the right energy. There was somebody in our WhatsApp group saying, like, you even just looked at the tunnel, and Luigi, you can't see this from sitting in the stands, but with whether it's Paramount Plus, DAZN, Sky Sports, like showing the tunnel. Locatelli's joking with the ref. Our players are kind of like punching each other's shoulders, and the PSV guys are just like, they're ready to fucking go to war, to turn this result around. Like there's a mentality thing going into the second half, which we have screwed up. So like mistake number one, we talked about the substitutions, waiting too long, delaying them when there's obvious issues, players who were dog shit, leaving them on the pitch. I know Locatelli was not having one of his better matches, but at a point in time where you need to grind it out for 45 minutes and you have an inexperienced team, you pull off your most experienced player, your captain, and the guy who's supposed to control the middle of the pitch. You start a guy who you claim is sick. You bring on a left back who was abysmal against Inter, was probably like emotionally, psychologically, mentally was beat up by just how Dumfries ran all over him. And then you put him into a knockout game with a makeshift back line where he's really going to have to stand out. And we have a makeshift back line where we have somebody playing out of position, multiple people playing out of position, a 19, 20-year-old guy coming in at left back, and we're going to sit back and we're not going to push forward and play to our strengths when we have attacking players like Duzan, like Yildiz, like Mbangula, who can come off the bench and we can actually play and push forward. There are just such obvious things that just, why isn't, like, that's what was frustrating, is that any one of us could have made different decisions. And I'm not saying, like, that's why we're on a podcast sitting in a chair and we're not coaching professional football, but it just seemed like a guy who didn't know how to do his job.
Look, in competitions are different. Okay. So this is what I'm about to say. I don't think translates necessarily to Serie A at this stage, but it seemed like the moment was maybe too big for Thiago Motta's coaching. I think that's maybe where you saw his inexperience in the coaching, because I think as we've progressed from the league and where we are now, it has not been pretty. But now up in fourth, 4 wins on the bounce, you see Motta kind of growing into managing this team in Serie A. Well, yesterday, the only thing I could really chalk it up to, when we look at 4 wins on the bounce, is that Thiago Motta, the occasion was maybe got to him, and that shows his experience as a coach, which is the only thing I could really think of to drive how bad the decision-making was yesterday.
And the second thing, so that was the first thing, a guy that didn't know how to perform. And I think you're probably right. The moment was maybe too big to him. He outthought himself, was trying to be too creative with certain things and just got it all wrong because he was in his own head. That happens. But then it ties to the second part. Own up to your mistakes, be humble, and have some self-awareness. And then you get out and then you double down. And I made the right choices. I wouldn't have done things differently. Like I would, but clearly it didn't help the team be in a better position to win. You say you hit the post. Oh, okay. Yes, you did hit the post, but the rest of the performance didn't merit moving on. I struggle when people in leadership positions don't have accountability and can't embrace learning experiences. It's fraudulent to me.
I don't disagree with what you just said, but I don't know if that's necessarily what's happening here.
Okay.
I do not, people who listen know, I do not put very much stock into post-game commentary. I think Locatelli handled it better than Motta did, but I don't think what you say in front of the media really has any bearing of what's going on inside that dressing room. So, could he have said things better? Absolutely. Sure. But, coaches sometimes play mind games, right? If he says, I wouldn't have changed anything, well, everyone beats up on him and not the players. I mean, it could be tactic. You don't know what's going on inside that dressing room. So I don't want to overstate the importance of or read into kind of what he says in the post-game stuff, Kevin.
I agree. There are a couple of things you both said that are straight. Locatelli's interview there, we don't really agree, because I think Locatelli's interview was worse than the one of Motta, but only for one sentence, not in generally speaking words. When he said the other team wanted it more than us, you cannot say that as a player. This is something
that's
that
bad.
I don't like. That sentence, you see, that this is something as a player, that is something Motta can say, but not the player, because then it shows. And then again, that's what you said, Kevin, about they earn millions. Okay, they are young, but they earn millions. You cannot say that you don't wanted it as much as that you played not as well. They were better. They were at home. They had the atmosphere. We lost. I mean, it was difficult. Okay, you can say whatever, but don't that you went on the pitch with not the same grinta. No. This is something that Locatelli. I was very angry when I heard that, and. This it will take me some time to absorb that from Locatelli, to be honest. So
I'll give you an example. Nico Gonzalez was horrible but there was no question in my mind that he wanted it.
Yes,
200%. The way he moved,
yesterday.
the way he played, the way the positions he got himself in. I could see what he was trying to do when he had the ball. Right, he wanted it. He just didn't have it today. I mean, yesterday he didn't have it. Locatelli, I've personally called to take a leadership role on this team, who is very frequently our captain.
Mm-hmm.
That bothers me too, Luigi. That bothers me too.
Yeah, no, this is one thing that I wanted to say. And also to come back what I said before about the company and the financial. This is not an excuse. I'm not trying to find an excuse and saying that, okay, it's better that we didn't pass. It's just, something that we don't have to forget, that they're building something, and I see what they're building. And I see other teams I see a very bad future for them. Other teams in Italy, and I see a very bright future for us. This is basically what I wanted, just to finish what I wanted to say yesterday. But this is not an excuse of what happened yesterday, of course. But as I said, from the stadium, I had the feeling that they were fighting. I mean, players like Nico Gonzalez, like even Kefren Thuram, when he came in, nothing. What do you want to say to Thuram yesterday, to be honest? Except that he missed his after dribbling 5 players, he missed his shot. So
I mean, it was a terrible shot, and that is something that we talked about him, his final touch. But he played well, absolutely. I think one thing, Kevin, I'll just say is we did create more chances, even playing worse than the opposition. We created several chances that could have got us back into it. If to contrast it with the Napoli game, we offered absolutely nothing that second half. So I mean, I think
they were different.
Slightly different.
That's fair. That is fair. But I think between both of you, because again, the TV experience and the stadium experience is different. It's very different. When they came back and scored the 2-1. Did either of you think we were going to turn the tie around based on what you had seen in the second half? Did you have hope?
Yeah,
I didn't.
I was in the stadium, so I had to.
Yeah, I'm generally the hopeful guy, right? I've preached even in our Turin Giants group, right? I'm not Fino a la 80 minutes guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Fino a la Fine guy, and the thing is unlike Napoli, it was clear we were not playing better, but we didn't capitulate. We still had chances. We still had opportunities. 2-1 down is still penalty kicks, right? We're not out of anything yet. And we had already showed with Weah's goal, albeit against the run of play and an amazing individual effort, that we could score. So I wasn't negative or down. I was frustrated because I thought that we should have made subs 15 minutes prior. And I think it set us back, because then when you sub players on, it takes them a little bit of time to warm up and get into the flow of the game. And the other team just has a bunch of momentum. So it went back to the coaching disaster, and I was frustrated with that, but I didn't write the team off.
Okay. Luigi, and I imagine you were passionate, pulling, had belief that this was going to be a different outcome.
I believed it. I mean, I was hoping, if I'm very angry with Dusan since months now, I'm not hiding it. I hoped yesterday he would score the goal, and I didn't see I think he got it on the post one point.
That was him. That was him. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't have the chance to see it today. I would have been really happy if he would have scored. Yes, and I believed he would have done, but he was not. I think he's completely gone now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So I know both of you are more, and Zach, you've said it openly, and Luigi, I know you have faith in the project and what we're building, that we have a bright future. And I know there's others who join our podcast that feel very differently. I think personally, I've kind of been in a similar camp as both of you, in that there's going to be mistakes. We know that it's a new squad, a young squad, a new coach with a vision, and we've seen kind of pockets and good moments of what this could be. I think the inconsistency and not seemingly learning from mistakes is what is frustrating me more and more and more now that like we're deeper into like the air quotes, like the money making part of the season where like the games matter. You're in knockout competition. Dropped points in the last 10 to 15 games will be the difference between 4th and 5th place. I just feel that we're not growing in the way that I had hoped. I'm not gonna get on the Malta out bandwagon. I know that we have friends and peers who feel that way. I can scroll through the Turin Giants kind of comment feed to Farhad, and I can see all of it. But I think with you two in keeping an eye on the future, where do we go from here? What is success for you over these remaining, 13 games, 14 matches in Serie A plus Coppa Italia? I'm somewhere around there. It's close. Starting with Cagliari this weekend, what do you guys want to see that's going to demonstrate and reaffirm that we're moving in the right direction despite some of these very difficult moments?
First off, I want to say that I want this loss to sting, because as long as it stings, it shows you that you have passion or something, you have a goal or something to play for, that you didn't reach your potential. And if it doesn't sting, and then I don't know, are we even Juventus? Right? I want it to sting, and I think it's okay for people and fans and supporters to let it sting and to process that hurt, right? Because that means we care and that we want more for our team. But competitions take different complexions, right? I don't think this necessarily, though it has the potential to, I don't think this necessarily undoes the Serie A form that we started February with. Simply because competitions just end up taking different complexions.
Yes.
Last year we couldn't score in Serie A, but we would put 4 by people in the Coppa, right? That's just the nature of the game. So when I look at Cagliari, I'm expecting 2 things. 1, a win, and 2, playing in the manner that we saw against Inter and that we saw against PSV in the first game, and we saw against Empoli. That is what I'm looking for, because as I said last episode, now that we're in 4th with a easier schedule than our competition, okay, we have no excuse not to finish top 4. And so we need to play like a team deserving of that. And we haven't for a lot of the year, but now's the time.
Luigi, what do you need to see in these remaining months?
I want to see Rome, but I want to go back to Rome. That's my main goal now from the end of the season. I want to book my plane tickets and my hotel and go to Rome. So that's one of the things, of course, because I've seen a couple of finals, and this is underestimate what is happening in that stadium that day. So
Luigi,
I want that for the first one.
If we get there, I'm going to try and beg, borrow, and steal some things from my wife to get her blessing to come to that match. So if we get there, I will do everything I can to be there with you, because I was supposed to go to the Coppa Italia final with Luigi last year, and some work like offsite got in the way, and I'm still angry I wasn't there.
I think that's a
let's say
point,
that's my first point. Okay.
Yeah,
second point, of course, we have to come now. I will be. I mean, you see that I'm angry what happened yesterday, but from now on, there is no more excuse. We have to be on the top 4 of the league, of the Serie A. I mean, no excuse. I don't want to hear anything. We have to be in the Champions League next year. It is crucial for the financial of the club. It's crucial for the supporters, and at least try to go to Rome, because we have an open road to go with. We have Empoli at home and Bologna normally. So I mean, come on, guys. We have an open road to go there, and that's what I want from now to the end. Okay, Europe is over. It's sad. I was having fun traveling in Europe. I saw 3 of them. I was for sure going to go to Rome, not to London, if we would have gotten Arsenal. So I would have gone to the Emirates, or also to Milan if we would have got Inter. But it's okay. That's over for now. No more Europe traveling. And so please, Rome, and make sure that we are on the top 4 at the end of the season.
I think the lesson though is there's no easy road, right? I don't want to hear easy road about Empoli. One, PSV and Ajax and Lyon and Villarreal, they all showed us there's no easy road. Two, Bologna outplayed the shit out of us when we played earlier this year. So I don't want to hear easy road.
That is
no.
That is very true.
It's to say we don't have Inter or something like that in the way. So it's feasible. They can do it if they want. So no excuses.
So I struggle. I don't want to ask the question, but I'm going to anyway. As we get to kind of the end of this podcast, if we crash out of Coppa Italia and Luigi, we're not booking our tickets to Rome, and we finish in 5th or 6th, do you still trust this process?
The process
is Malta still coaching at the beginning of next season?
No, then not. I know it's for sure that would be a major failure. I mean, it's clear the goals of this team this year was Champions League qualification and go as far as possible in the championship, actually. But if you don't qualify with the Champions League after spending all that money on young players, no, Motta will not be the coach of Juve next year. If he doesn't go, I mean, okay, Coppa Italia is one thing, but if he doesn't qualify for the Champions League, he will not be the coach of Juventus next year.
Would you want him to still be the coach, even if the management makes the decision that he's no longer?
I know. I know. If he doesn't qualify this year with this team, at least in the top 4, no, then you really made a very. That's how you call it. In English, you help me here. When you're in a company, you do a big mistake and they have to fire you. What is it? How you call it? It's a faute grave in French.
With cause was it?
With cause. Okay, thank you. In French, it's very clear. It's faute grave. It's a very big mistake. Let's say that's when they fire you when you do something very bad. So this is that this is for me. It's true that's a very big mistake if you don't qualify on the Champions League. No, Kevin, the process is the project. The process is something that will take a couple of years. I hope they will fine tune.
That's why I ask, right? Because if you believe in a project,
and I said fine tune. If you have to fine tune mistakes, and if Motta is a mistake, then you have to
changing a coach isn't fine tuning.
That's not fine tuning.
A coach who has a system.
Material.
He wants players.
It's a very big fine tuning.
And it's the difference between 4th and 5th could be a point, right? It could be a point. It could be goal differential, right? And if you get to that point at the end, do you believe in the continuity? Do you believe in the vision? And that we had hiccups, mistakes. It needs more time, right? Like, because that's a big decision. Because we haven't had continuity.
Kevin, I was starting to like him. On Sunday, I was starting.
We can't. I'm not going to let. Look, and I shit on Motta for yesterday's game, but I'm not going to let one game change my perspective. We've played a lot of games this year, and I've said all along that my line for Motta is December 31st of this year. So at the end of the season, first half of next, because it takes time, and we're going to be better next year. If we change nothing, we will be better simply because we've had the experience and the continuity. When I look at our team and I look at how Colomani's been performed after having Dusan as our striker all year and all the chances he missed, and I look at our defense and our persistent injuries and what Bremer would have done. I mean, the net point differential is if we had Bremer or a more useful forward from the start of the season would certainly be material. And so when I look at this team, I look at it. We're a good striker, a right back, and a healthy Bremer away from challenging for the Scudetto, in my opinion.
Of course,
that continuity would ensure that we don't restart and have to re-find ourselves. that would be repeating the same mistakes that we did with Pirlo and the same mistakes that we did with Sarri, in my opinion. Yep. If we don't take that continuity and whatever tweaks and magic Giuntoli is going to hopefully pull over the summer and put us in a position to be solidly competing in the Scudetto race at December 31st, then this would be a failure, because the continuity has to materialize and the further squad building has to materialize increased results. And if that's not the case, yep, that will be evident by December 31st of this year.
Okay. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, if for me, we will already see in June. So if he qualifies for the Champions League, I believe he will stay at Juve. And then,
absolutely,
of course,
absolutely, if he qualifies.
If not, he will not. I mean, for me, it's very clear. So it's either one or the other. Then this is why I hope for him that he will qualify for Champions League 3 or 4 games before the end of the season, so that he doesn't have to come to the last game or to the last goal. So
it will not. This season has taught us one thing: it's not going to go down like that, Luigi.
No.
It's going to go down to the last game.
Yeah. We will see. We will see.
So,
come on, let's see what they will do in Cagliari now. So. Couple of friends going, so
it starts at Calgary, right? This is away. The first
away,
one was at home with those lovely Duzon misses. That's right.
Oh yeah,
So,
oh my God.
Yeah. I don't want to relive that. So starts again, Calgary. I guess, and then we try and finish top 4, try and win Coppa Italia. And we finished the season advancing out of the Champions League, hopefully winning the Copa, qualifying for next Champions League. I think on paper, given everything that, like how the year started with all the new players, new coach, new system, maybe we would have accepted that. I still think living the pain of yesterday, seeing how it went down is challenging. But this was a healthy discussion. I enjoyed this. Luigi, what's your next Juve match? Do you have line of sight to your next game?
No, I haven't decided yet. A lot of people asked me yesterday. I don't know. I have to check the calendar. I have to check with my work. I have to come to Italy for work at one point, so I will maybe combine it with a weekend where I stay the weekend longer to stay in Torino.
Need my apartment. Let me know.
Yeah, of course I will. No, I will see. But I have to see, because we're also driving down to Marseille with my wife and my kids, so for Easter, and I wanted to do it in a way that when we drive up, we stop in Torino when there is a game. So I have to check all this. It's all in organization phase. So I will see. I will see.
Fantastic. Well, Luigi, it's been an absolute pleasure having you rejoin us again.
Yes.
It was absolute pleasure to be here, Kevin. Good to see you. I miss you,
I miss you too. I miss our Torino friends.
Yeah. So, they're lucky going to the stadium. So, no, good. Happy to be here, guys. Whenever you want. I come back whenever you want.
Dak, any final words?
No, I just like having Luigi here, and I guess we'll see you guys, the listeners, that is, after Cagliari.
And with that, we will conclude episode 284. And I cannot find the outro music.
I was going to say, this is the smoothest
exit
we've ever had.
This did not. Here we go. I had to scroll further down than I expected.